From Cleveland, Ohio, and the founder of Govabuse, let's welcome Nancy Rolfe. Welcome to the show, Nancy. Now, you're the founder of Govabuse. What is Govabuse?
Well, thank you for having me, Dennis. And Govabuse is the largest children and family rights organization in the nation, in all 50 states, and we recently expanded to Canada.
Now, does it cost anything to join Govabuse?
Absolutely not. Govabuse, there's no membership fees, there's no dues. Everyone is volunteer, including myself.
Now, there are many family rights groups, children family rights groups on the web, on Facebook. And tell us, why do you think there is a need for Govabuse?
Well, the question, Dennis, is actually the answer as well, because there are so many family rights groups nationwide in every state, in all the counties, that if you have a father's rights group, let's take protesting, for example, a father's rights group that's protesting in Florida in one county, there will be, 5 fathers, and then another protest with, a few mothers, in another state or county, and grandparents here. Everything has been so completely unorganized. I've been in this for 31 years myself, and I've watched absolutely nothing get done. There's been no reformation. The few things that have happened, legislatively, it's non-existent. Nothing can get done. The government actually only recognizes numbers of dollars, numbers of voters, which protesters are voters. So until the numbers were big enough, the government never had a reason to do anything. What all the different family rights groups were doing, staying separated, mothers against fathers, beating up on the mothers, and the mothers beating up on the fathers, is playing into the government's hands. This is what they need.
And tell me, how has Govabuse become so large?
Word of mouth. I've been in 31 years myself. It started out, Govabuse only started in 2010, where some of the main people who do the most, throughout the nation got together and, realized that unless we all came under one banner, this wasn't going to work. It was never going to work. And so by everybody coming together, it's working now.
That sounds great. What are the goals of Govabuse?
Reformation. Reformation in the family court system, which is actually pretty extensive, Dennis. It covers, like children and family services, foster care, divorces, child support. I mean, it just anything that covers that. But also, one of the projects that we are also actually doing this year, it's taken this long to get this far, is any company that is violating people. We want everyone to send whatever the violations are, and then when we get enough of them, then we will go after that company. We're not just doing government system, although that's the main goal, but anyone who's being violated, we want to know what those violations are, and if there's enough of them, we will go after that company as well.
Now, here's a good question. How long do you think it will take to reform this system?
No one's going to like this answer, but the answer is never. And anytime somebody asks me that question, they get really upset. What do you mean never? And here's the problem. And it's not even a problem. It's just the way it is. That the laws are always changing. In every state, and it doesn't matter what the subject is. So even after we get the reformation that is absolutely essential right now, there's always going to be something to be done. The government never ends. I mean, people's lives don't end, and change is just a matter of life. So we have to keep changing with it and making sure that we're doing the best we can so the children are safe, which right now they absolutely are not.
Well, with the reformation and so many families, I mean, I get phone calls after phone calls from people week after week. Problems with the family court system, and I know it's out there because I'm just one person, and another person, the advocate, will tell me they're getting so many phone calls. And with all these people out here, Why is it taking so long in the United States to get reformation?
Well, one, we haven't really had, like I said, I've been doing this 31 years, and for most of those years, we had no social networking. So, it was really difficult, although, it's amazing how many people in so many different states were able to find each other and get together, that before, Facebook has just been invaluable. And Twitter and all this social networking has just exploded to where people can connect just so easily now. And another one of the biggest problems is, like we said, it's so many different family rights groups, and and I do understand why so many, even though it is harmful to everyone's goals, to have so many different groups. I pretty much know maybe 5 people, and I know a lot of people, who do not have their own Facebook group or their own website, and the reason that they do have, everyone has to have their own Facebook group and stuff. And I just figured this out a few years ago, is that all these people that they show up to court and they see psychologists, they see the guardian ad litems, everywhere they go, they are shut up. They are never allowed to be honest. They can't. Everyone's always shutting them down, so people are actually looking for some control in their world full of chaos. And so that's their way of having some control, but it still doesn't help to have everybody separated all over the place.
Well, and that gets back to one of our models that we try to preach here. What can you do to reform a system? What can a person do to reform a system? Well, of course, you want to work on your own case, and we see a lot of these different Facebook pages out there. You want to work on your own case, but you have to work together as a unit.
Absolutely.
Or it's not going to work. It's very rare for somebody to get something to a Supreme Court. There's so many good cases out there, and the money involved, certainly, we've known grandparents. I know one grandparent that finally got their case to the Supreme Court, but they have spent $50,000. And the normal person doesn't have that ambition or the money to do that. It takes an awful lot of knowledge.
Well, and the money is the key, because even, the families that are getting these, court-appointed attorneys, I don't know how every state works, as far as the appointments, but for most of the appointments, they get a flat fee, and then they'll be able to charge a little bit more. Now, for as many cases as the lawyers have to do, they don't, the families are just a number. They're just trying to get them through. They're not even explaining. This is one of the biggest problems. They are not even explaining. The lawyers are not explaining to the families why they do something, and then the families start flipping out and try, to listen to what, advocates who have no clue what they're doing are saying. And this is one thing I definitely want to say, is that, including me, anyone that ever tells anyone, gives them any kind of advice, direction, anything, double check the information. You can go to, law libraries. There's a zillion, networking sites on the internet. Findlaw.com, that's one of my favorites. But everyone's got to double check the information any advocate, including me, shares with them.
So, Nancy, what can individuals do to assist in the goals of Govabuse?
Volunteer in any way they can. One of the ways Govabuse is set up is that 2 things. One, that anyone can be in another group and still be in Govabuse, and everyone chooses their level of involvement. So just because somebody is disabled, can't leave the house, there are plenty of things that we could use help with, just as far as working on the internet and stuff, where they don't even have to leave the house. When they sign up for Govabuse on the Govabuse.com website, just write down, whatever kind of hours they might be able to put in, even if it's an hour a week, or if they have any special skills. And a lot of people say, well, I don't have any special skills, and I'll start talking to them, and then they found out they actually have 10 special skills that they didn't know, could be very useful, helpful, even fielding phone calls. There's so many things to do.
Well, we've talked about social networking. Govabuse uses social networking, and are there some websites
Well, okay, social networking, number one, it is how we got where we are, one of the ways, but it's absolutely valuable. Govabuse has Facebook groups for every single state, and the reason we have, like, you'll look under for Facebook, you'll look under like Govabuse, Ohio, Govabuse, Hawaii, and Govabuse, Michigan. And the reason that we did the state groups, not because we need 1 million more Facebook groups, but like when someone has, needs to organize quickly, then at least the messages are going just to all the people in that area. They can get help quickly because things come up pretty quick in the family court cases.
Yes, they do, and we've used that quite often here in Michigan. It's a good way to network. Govabuse, Michigan, or Govabuse, Ohio, Govabuse, Florida. There's the regular Govabuse page. Just type in Govabuse, what you're looking for. You also have a website, I recall.
Yes, which is, govabuse.com. And, if we're in Michigan, we also have the Govabuse Michigan for Parental Rights, which Dennis runs.
So you look us up on the web, get involved. Very important. 2014's coming up. Are there any projects that are being worked on by Govabuse for 2014? What does 2014 look like? 2014
looks like the best banner year, and I know everybody likes to say that every year, but this really, really is. 2013 was a little bit slow for us because all across the nation, it's like most of the leaders had cancer and just like really extreme things. But everybody's healthy, everybody's ready to go. The next nationwide protest, even though we'll have some other protests prior to this one, but the big one where everyone needs to be ready for is October 3rd, 2014. That's a Friday. October 3rd, 2014. But aside from that, we also have some other projects where we're trying to change the laws in all 50 states for grandparents' rights. Because like when children get removed from their families, they're not going to the families. And the reason for that is there are no incentive dollars to keep families together, but there's plenty of dollars that the government is giving, cash incentive bonus money on top of it to have the families separated. And families need to quit being shy. People get so nervous, oh, it happened to my family, and they think they're all alone. People look down on them. Guess what? There's an actual system to this. You're not alone. It's happening in every state because it's a system that's run under Social Security dollars, no less, and others. But there's an actual system to this. Make the calls. Get involved in Govabuse, and at a minimum, start out with your Facebook group. Govabuse, whatever the state is, and then go from there, and somebody will contact you.
Now, what type of things have you seen that have harmed the goals of reformation?
We could have so much done already. Oh, it's just horrible because everyone, as I mentioned earlier, that everyone's looking for some control in their, their world of chaos, which it is as soon as you get involved in these cases. That everyone else, I see it every day, new groups popping up where just, newbies, people new to the family rights, they'll, well, let's start this group and everybody should follow me, go under this group, and first of all, they have no clue what they're doing. One of the biggest messes I've seen was a group called Lawless America that started, hey, sorry Bill, but you're a moron. This guy who started this thing had no clue about family rights. He was, mad at the criminal court, and family rights people were answering, because he wanted people to join him for this criminal thing. So all of a sudden, he's running around calling corruption, saying all these congressmen and senators, all the judges are corrupt because nobody will contact him. Well, at the same time, he's putting out these videos saying they're all corrupt because they won't contact him. The Govabuse people are having meetings with the congressmen and senators and even governors in all the different states at the same time. This guy's running corrupt. You know what? First of all, there is not. Everyone in any category is not all corrupt. You find who the bad ones are, you find out what the issues are, why they are, and you take them out that way. You expose what it is, which is where the protesting and the awareness campaigns come in. But you do not run around and tell all the advocates, hey, everybody's corrupt, and no, that is so harmful to this cause.
Okay, well, what about some successes in the last few years with Govabuse? Have you seen any? Can you tell us any?
Absolutely, big time. Well, in 2010, even, when all of us got together and started this, Govabuse was not Govabuse, but children and family rights was not a recognized, an actual cause. All the families in all the different states, counties, etc., were actually all deemed just disgruntled parents. Now, because there's so many, and the government keeps seeing the same name everywhere, Govabuse, because it is everywhere, that we are a legitimate cause. We have to be recognized. We're not ignored anymore. And now, in so many states, they're changing their guidelines. We're working on changing laws, but families are getting their kids back in cases that even, I would say, 5 years ago, they would have never gotten their kids back. I mean, it's just like Utah and California are such a mess, it's sad. But even in these states, we are seeing, families getting their kids back that, I've been around long enough, these people would have never gotten their kids back. But our advocates actually will do some court watching, go to the cases, and actually go to the Children and Family Services team meetings and stuff. They'll even put me at times, on a speakerphone so I can be involved in some of the really bad cases. But we've seen a lot of families get saved, but the problem is it is nothing next to the families that are continually being taken out. And one more thing I do want to say about that is in every single state, in every county, the county, and the numbers are out right now for 2014, that they have a proposed amount of children that have to be removed that they propose to have adopted out the following year. Those numbers are already out, and they get $6,000 to $8,000 for every child that's removed. If they don't hit those numbers, they're not getting the money. So the kids are all at risk. They're all waiting. After 2014, I can guarantee this is going to get stopped.
Well, Nancy, I want to thank you for coming on to the show, and to kind of add something here. I think we're seeing the corner starting to turn. I've noticed that some people are getting their children back, and more children are going to family. I see that there's a lot of people that are foster care givers or have adopted that no longer do this because the word is getting out what is going on in the United States. And I think that's been very important with what Govabuse has accomplished here, is the word is getting out and people are realizing what is going on in the family court system.
Exactly, and not being so afraid to stand out there and voice out, because everybody used to be so afraid of,
Well, I think the fact was we thought we were alone, and if it wasn't for the social media, we certainly still be twiddling our thumbs thinking we're the only person this ever happened to. You have anything else that you would like to add real quick here?
Just that, there's a huge difference between paranoia and perception. Get together with the Govabuse advocates so they can help you separate between paranoia and perception, because until you look at your own case and find out which parts you are to blame for, yelling at the judge and getting mad at the judges and, lawyers and stuff for things just because you don't know what happened, you hurt your case more. You cause more harm to your case. That didn't have to happen.
And let's not forget, go to govabuse.com if you're interested in being a PLC for your local county to organize the protest for 2014. And everybody asks me, what is a PLC? What does PLC stand for? Nancy?
PLC stands for Protest Location Coordinator, and two things. One, people always call them POCs because it does sound a little funny when you're talking on the phone and stuff. And the other one is when people say Govabuse, and it just occurred to me recently, why does everyone always says drug abuse? Why are you, working with drug abuse, Nancy? It's Govabuse, G-O-V, because it sounds so close, and, Govabuse is, only a few years old. But the PLC, Protest Location Coordinator, Govabuse will not run a protest or anything in any county, even if there, I don't care how many, none of us care how many volunteers there are, if there is not one person who will take the reins there to make sure everybody is safe, that follows regular normal protest rules, that you don't stand in the middle of the street with a bullhorn, you don't protest at the judges' houses, you don't block the doorways, you don't block the sidewalks. I mean, there are certain things, you're not sticking your protest sign in the ground. I mean, there are certain things that we do that if there is not one person to protect everybody, there's never been, since 2010, not one arrest, and we have had the protests in all the states and a zillion counties, not one arrest, and it's going to stay that way because we will not run one without a protest location coordinator. So, as Dennis said, please volunteer to be a PLC for any of the counties that are not covered.
And I guess that goes along with the fact I always end my shows with pointing at the camera. It's your camera. You got it on, Nancy? Point at the camera. Remember, your voice can make the difference.